Hey guys, I'm 13 here. This video is going to be bragging about a compliment that I got today. Pretty much. Topic of this video is are all white people in Asia crap? Something like that. Hopefully I came up with a better title between now and when I upload this. In some of my older videos, when I first started uploading to YouTube, one of the topics that I discussed, this was back when I was teaching English full-time, was the fact that other foreigners in Taiwan were all trashy, low-class people. Like I didn't like any of them. You guys' tires are weird. What I found to be, and this is back when I was teaching, what I found to be very common was that like all foreigners were alcoholics, and like drugs was so common. And Taiwan is very strict country. Like they supposedly have the death penalty for drug use and whatnot. But nonetheless, it was like, it seemed the majority of foreigners that I would meet spent the majority of the money they earned on alcohol and drugs. And it was just like, you know, and I rarely, especially when I first moved here, I didn't drink at all. I didn't drink, I don't smoke, I didn't drink coffee. I experimented with drugs when I was young, but once I moved to Taiwan, I stopped. So it was just, I found it very difficult to socialize with other foreigners, because their idea of socialization was just like work during the day and then go to the bar and drink all night, and you know, rinse and repeat. And meanwhile, I was like exploring the island and going swimming in mountain rivers and hiking and this and that. Now, I'm not saying I'm the only white person in Taiwan that goes hiking and whatnot, but it seemed that way. It seemed like that when I first moved here. And then I remember I had long story short, I had a student of mine who was like a teenager, and this is back when I first moved here, so I was almost, like I was just like 22, 23 years old, and I had a student who was like a teenager, and she was like throwing herself at me, and she was very attractive, but she was a teenager, so I was just like, okay, no. So I didn't do anything, but it was still on my mind because it was an interesting situation. So I would mention it to other foreigners that I knew. I'm like, yeah, I got this student, and she's only, you know, however old she was, and she keeps throwing herself at me, and it seems like her parents approve of it, because they leave us alone, and it's like when I go to her house to teach her, the parents leave, and then we have the whole apartment to ourselves, and it's like, and then she's hitting on me. I'm like, so I never did anything. I never touched her. And then, but I'd mention it to other foreigners, and without fail, I'm talking 100% of the people that I mentioned it to, and I mentioned it to a lot of foreigners because it was ongoing, and I wanted to see what other foreigners said about it. Every single one was just like, yeah, why aren't you doing it? Why aren't you? I would so be there. And I even had like foreigners that were like twice my age saying, oh, give her my number. and they weren't kidding. It was gross, in my opinion. It was just, and I was just amazed that they all had such low morals. Yeah. Anyways, so let's get, so fast forward, and I haven't taught English full time in like 8 years, so I don't know what caliber of foreigners are out there right now. But I was hanging out with this foreigner today, an acquaintance / friend of mine. I've only hung out with him a few times, but we both like motorcycles, we both like riding. He has a drone, he's into photography, so we were hanging out today. And then he said to me, he says to me, he goes, wow, it was really nice hanging around with a human being for a change. And I'm like, well, what do you mean? And he's like, all the other foreigners that I hang around with, they're like either like alcoholics or this or that, or just total dicks, or I find out they beat their wives or this or that. And I'm just like, and it's like, this rings a bell, you know? It's just funny, so. But yeah, so he was saying it was nice to be around someone who wasn't abnormal. I think that's the first time I've ever been called not abnormal, to be honest. But yeah, so it just reconfirms what I used to say. And it's funny because I used to get hate from the foreigner community in Taiwan when I first started YouTube, because I had multiple videos where I said, yeah, if you're a foreigner and you're in Asia, you're probably a piece of crap. And you know, and sometimes I get lumped into that. You get haters under my videos that literally just, they're like, oh, you're a white guy in Asia, therefore you are horrible. And I'm like, well, while I do agree with the stereotype, you know, there's an exception to every rule, and as far as being a piece of crap, I think I'm kind of an exception to that one. So yeah, that's the topic of the video. So evidently, you know, I've been kind of out of touch with the foreign community for the last 8 years, but I got confirmation today that it is in fact still mostly crap. And that's not to say that there aren't any good foreigners here, because there are, but I'm just saying they honestly are the minority. Which is, you know, it's interesting, because here I am, I'm being fully racist against white people in Taiwan, and no one's going to get angry about it because I am also a white person in Taiwan. So therefore, it's just one of those things, you know, where you can't criticize a certain group of people unless you yourself are in that group. You know, it's like black comedians can make any joke they want about black people and the audience is okay with it, but if you were to get a white person to make literally the exact same joke, they would get booed off the stage. And there's even a movie about that. There's a movie where there's a black comedian enters like a white person's body, and then he goes to the Apollo as the white person and tries to do his routine, and everyone's like, what the heck? So yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, and generalizations are generally true. That's how they work. That's why they become generalizations. But in general doesn't mean all the time, you know. I hate that. I hate that when you say, yeah, in general, these type of people do these kind of things. And then someone says, oh, well, my Uncle Frank is one of those people, and he never does that. And I'm like, well, what are you saying? Did I say every single type of these people does this? You know, like, even like for professions or whatever, I often make general comments about police officers. So I'll say, oh, police do this, and then somebody will say, oh, I knew a guy once, and he was a cop and he didn't do that. And I'm like, so what are you talking about? I didn't say every single cop on the planet does it. I just says cops in general. Yeah, it's amazing how dumb people are, and how much you have to over explain, like, things that are generally true aren't always true, and that's anyways, yeah, my battery's running short, so I wanted to start off, the topic of the video was just like foreigners that go abroad to teach ESL, and then it ended up, I think we ended up going into like racism and whatnot. But that's the video, and I'm uploading it. Thanks for watching. M13 out. This is a fun road. I see a lot of people crashing on these corners here, though. It's downhill and twisty, so even on a weaker scooter, you can still get some pretty insane speeds on this downhill. Oh, this is the corner coming up here. People bite it on this corner a lot. I'm doing a little over double speed limit. Yeah, I'm slowing down. Yeah, now I'm doing 50% over. Yeah, 50% over. I was okay on the corner. So, yeah. But it's crazy. You see people bite it on that corner pretty regularly. There's some roads that I used to ride a lot, and it would be like every week there would be a different car or motorcycle totaled. Like there'd be a corner like this, and then there'd be like a car just smashed into the wall there on the side, and then like the next week I'd be doing that road again, there'd be a different car smashed there, and then the next week a different car. It's like, because I guess you smash a car and then you total a car against the wall, and then it takes a few days to get a tow, like maybe a day or two to get a tow truck, especially if you're hospitalized. It'll sit there for a few days before they get around to clearing up the destroyed car. And it was anyways. Had too much coffee. Okay, later, guys. The battery's gonna die soon, so I gotta cut this. Look at this. You got farmers. See the fields. When the fields are filled with water like that, that's rice. Rice needs so much water to grow that you pretty much have to flood the entire field. Like that one to the left there. It's all water. I get people that come and do my tours, and then they're so new to Asia that they don't even know what rice is, what rice looks like in its natural. I don't know if it's natural, but you know what I mean. Like they don't even know what rice in a field looks like. They're like, "Oh, what's that plant growing in all that water out there?" And I'm like, "Are you serious?" But I shouldn't be so condescending, because I'm pretty sure that when I first moved out here, I didn't know what rice looked like either. Except maybe for video games. There's a couple of video games that I used to play where you would grow rice, and it looks pretty much the same. I think pretty much all of what I've learned about Asia and life in general has been from video games. That's actually a lot truer than I care to admit. No, I'll admit it. I've learned a lot. Like, anyways, the battery's dying. Topic for another video. Later, guys.